Hello and welcome to SUPERHOG's Titans podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Annie Holcombe, Director of Revenue and Client Acquisition at Lexicon Travel Technologies. Hey Annie, how you doing?
Hi, nice to see you, Leo. Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. It's great to catch up with you. Annie, how is everything down in Florida? Have I landed on the right beach in my picture?
You are probably within very close proximity to my beaches. It's like I said, it's hard to tell because our beaches, our signature kind of telltale is our white sand and our emerald green waters. So, but it looks like a pier from our area. So I'm going to say you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's going on in Florida? Is it sort of beach? Is it summer vacation at the moment?
Yes, well, so schools are starting back, so things are slowing down a little bit, but it's really weird. Things have been just chaos in terms of like the amount of travel coming to the state, at least where I live, the beaches, since we opened back up a year ago, May. So we did have a lockdown here, I think like everybody did. We were one of the last beaches in the US to open up, in the Southeast anyway. So Florida had closed for a while, and then our vacation rentals were held off from opening. Hotels opened but vacation rentals didn't, and as soon as they opened, it was just it was a floodgate, and it really hasn't slowed. So it's been fascinating, to see that the demand hasn't waned. People still want to come to the beach, and they were coming in the winter, they were coming when it rained. We are slated to maybe have a tropical storm come through Sunday, Monday here, and
Wow.
people are still coming. So
Do you need any more example of the fact that vacation rental is alive and kicking when that's the case?
oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, it's like I said, it's really quite amazing. And I've been every weekend I look at the numbers just for the area and talking to partners that I work with, and they just continually are blowing even expectations out of the water. We knew it was going to be a strong year. We knew it was going to be better than 2019, but not to this degree. So I think the future just continues to get brighter for vacation rentals.
Well, I agree with you there. Interesting you say that hotels were allowed to open before vacation rentals. That seems unusual to me. Why was that?
There's so many schools of thought here. It was very, very political. I think that there was the hotel lobby in America in general, I think, is much stronger than vacation rentals. And that was one thing that stood out to me, was that the vacation rental industry doesn't have one strong unified voice. It's better now than it was a year ago. It's been very fragmented in terms of municipalities having different rules, and states having different rules. And so when Florida opened, the governor just decided that it wasn't something that he wanted to mess with, having vacation rentals open. And the logic behind it, I felt, was very flawed and not very clear, because you could social distance in a vacation rental. You can't social distance in a hotel.
Yeah.
But I think, again, it boiled down to there was enough people probably that had the purse strings, that had the power behind the scenes, that were with the hotel side of the business. They justified having hotels open because we needed places for truck drivers to stay, as an example, for interstate travel and business, to keep the business open, for National Guard troops to be, if they had to, go for a hurricane, to have those open, for nurses that were traveling, doctors that were traveling for different destinations. So there was all kinds of odd justifications that everybody in vacation rental industry just said, wait a minute, we can accommodate all of those needs. So that's really short. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of great leadership on the vacation rental side in Florida that stepped up and really got a collective voice together. So I think one thing that came good out of it is that there is a stronger sense of needing to have that voice to compete against hotels. And again, not necessarily compete. I think we can exist.
Yeah.
We're the same. We're going after the same type of people that want to have experiences, and maybe the experience is different. I travel with my husband, we like to stay at a resort, just he and I, but when we travel with family, we want a vacation rental. So I think it just showed the differences between the industry aren't as far apart as people would like to think they are.
I agree with you, Annie, and I think you're right. You have a good insight. We'll go on to talk about your journey in the hotel and vacation rental industries, should I say? And you have a unique insight into it all, which we will get onto. But before we go there, when I was growing up, the aspirational holiday for the families from the northwest of England was to go to Florida, was to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And has that restarted? Are you seeing foreign travel coming in and back to those resorts?
So working with the partners that I do have in Orlando, it's been very much interstate travel and then kind of the Southeast. There's not been a lot of international. Talking with the channel partners that I work with, we're starting to see people kind of do in that dreaming phase, if you will, that the Americans went through as lockdown opened up of people from Europe trying to plan for the future. It's looking at 2022. I think it'll be very strong. It'll be interesting to see how quickly it comes back. I think, again, living in Europe is so different for what Americans understand. Like, I always try to explain it's like every state in our country represents a country in your neck of the woods, so to speak. So it's just so different. And we realize that people in Alabama, just north of us, have a different mindset about travel than people within Florida or Texas or California. Well, it's the same in Europe. And so it may be that the Brits come back quicker, or it may be that the Germans come back quicker. I don't know, but I am seeing a sign of it. I just don't think it's going to happen this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. And that probably does feel right, actually, from what it looks like in Europe, thinking about traveling to America. So I suppose we can all expect 2022 to be the year that the long distance traveler potentially comes back to our destinations. Do you think, are you seeing in America then, in Florida particularly, your length of stay being shorter because guests are maybe driving or not traveling as far generally?
It's so interesting because it depends on who you talk to. Some people say, oh my gosh, the length of stay is ridiculously long. Some will say I'm getting more people coming back, but we've seen, 30-day stays, we've seen 28-day stays. But what fascinated me is the amount of people that waited till inside 7 days of arrival to book that 28-day stay. Mm-hmm. They waited that long to say, I'm going to go somewhere for a month. And then I don't know what the kind of what the norm is coming out to be within Europe, but in the US, I think the last number I saw was 40% of the kind of the US workforce that can work from home will continue to work from home. I always work from home. So for me, I could go anywhere. My husband's office, he was working from home for a while, and then they went back to the office recently. And then there's just some companies that are doing hybrid. So I think that that's allowing for people to take long weekends, to be able to work from anywhere. If they have small kids that aren't in school, they can just kind of pick up and go and stay in a destination for a month or so. And so along the coast, for sure, we're seeing people stay longer. More of that urban destination, people are staying shorter, just I think kind of dipping their toe in the water. Like, am I comfortable to go to Orlando? Am I comfortable to go to Miami? So that probably will continue to be sort of a mixed bag, but we're seeing very long stays, but then we're seeing the normal 2 to 3 day for, the weekend getaway type things.
Very interesting. I think Europe is similar. People are realizing they can work from anywhere. Maybe that 2-week vacation becomes a 3-week vacation.
Yeah.
Annie, I love talking to you. You've got such a great story of how you came into vacation rental. Can you just tell us your journey in this industry?
Well, it's so funny you said that I had this like interesting background, and I always, there's no way to like tell it very concisely, because I almost feel like I'm like one of those dogs at the dog pound that you don't know what the background really, really, truly is. It just has a little bit of everything. And I hope that my varied background is a little bit of good from each one of those parts. But I started in hotels at front desk, and it was just underutilized there. And the owner of the company that I was working for recognized that. She moved me into a sales role. I worked in hotel sales, group sales for several years. And then I worked for a company that sort of at the beginning of vacation rentals in my region, for sure. So my region is the Northwest Florida part of the state of Florida. And it's a big hot market in terms of how many rentals are here. But kind of as it was coming on, the manager that I worked for had worked in a competitive market, Myrtle Beach. And he said, I don't have a job description for you. I just need you to go out and figure out how to do the following things. And the following things were, there are developers coming into town that are going to build buildings. They're going to tear hotels down. They're going to build condos. I want you to talk to these people. I want you to understand how to get us in there to manage the building from a condo association or homeowners association, if you will, how we get the people that are buying the units to be on our rental program. And then you're going to work with the owners and keep that relationship going. And then we're going to replicate that up and down the beach. So it was a business development role. It was a marketing role, but it just was one of those things where he just said, these are your goals. These are what I want you to accomplish. I have no idea how to tell you to get there. You just figure it out. And he probably one of my best mentors early on, and just really kind of let me go. And I learned a lot, and I fell on my face a lot. I was embarrassed a lot. I said the wrong thing because I didn't know what I was doing, but it was all new and fascinating. And I think for me, I like to do a lot of different stuff. So that, again, we built this great portfolio, over 3,000 rooms that we had, are units that we had under management, and a little over, I think it was about 1,500 that were actually on rental. And we had that for several years. And then my husband actually his background is advertising and marketing. And so he and myself and two other people from that company left and started our own management company, and did that kind of right about the time the market crashed. And then we had an oil spill in the Gulf that following year. Yeah. So it was just a couple of things, learning to be scrappy and be on, social media, which I'm not real good at. I don't like being on video. So we were doing YouTube videos saying, look at our beaches, they're not covered with oil, and going through all of that. It brought me to working with OTAs. So I had a relationship with Expedia. Market manager became a friend of mine. And I kept saying, you guys don't understand vacation rentals. So fast forward about 2 years, he was leaving, and he said, they need somebody in that market. And if they want to grow, I've told them they absolutely have to have somebody in that market. So I interviewed with them for close to a year, and then started with them and handled vacation rentals and hotels. So they didn't have it separated at the time. Handled the Gulf Coast, the Northwest Florida, so Panama City to what ended up being Gulf Shores, Alabama, so about 200 miles of coast, and helped build up vacation rentals there. And then ultimately, because I was so embedded in vacation rentals, became part of the global accounts team with their key account group that was managing what at the time they called non-traditional lodging. So vacation rentals were non-traditional. And, again, for us, it's traditional. It's where everybody wants to go. So I got the opportunity to kind of sit at the table and listen to what Expedia and kind of the people in the industry were thinking about vacation rentals, and provide feedback. And it was like the most valuable experience of my life, meeting the different groups and management companies that handled large scale vacation rentals all around the world. Wyndham Vacation Rentals was one, their timeshare group, their homeowners, their ownership group. I worked with Diamond Resorts, Westgate Resorts, so a lot of different groups, and learned a lot of things. And then ultimately, when Expedia bought HomeAway, my role was going to be put over to the HomeAway team. They wanted everything, kind of all the vacation rentals, but there wasn't a job for me because they had people there. So I decided to leave Expedia and kind of take all my learnings and figure out what to do. But as luck would have it, or karma or whatever, an account that I managed had gone under. It was a software group, and they had gone under, and there was some people that bought the software, the platform, which ultimately became Lexicon, which is where I'm at now. And their CEO, who has been just he's just a wonderful human being. He started the organization, asked me to join them, and I've been doing channel management ever since. And so it's been exciting. But again, to your point, I've been in all parts of the industry, so I understand how they all work together, or kind of how they don't work together, and how to try to bridge that gap. And so, I hope that I took the good parts of all of those pieces of the industry with me to become this pedigree that I am not right now. So,
well, you definitely are. And I think what's interesting is your story starts when people weren't even quite sure what to do with vacation rental, and
right.
Where it sat. Did it sit alongside hotels? What should a company do? How should they help acknowledge that their client doesn't always want to go and stay in a hotel with a lobby and a restaurant, right? Right the way through to working with software companies and the OTA. So super interesting journey. You've seen a lot of things, and obviously done a lot of things. What do you enjoy about being on the channel management side of it?
I think that it's fascinating because I'm not a tech savvy person. So I had to really force myself into this place of understanding APIs and, what the HTML code meant. And I still don't understand it all. Like certainly not something I would ever profess to be good at, but just understanding how all that stuff works and timing and what the perception of technology being always working and always being perfect and being so much better than humans. It's just not the case. It's just we have to have humans as part of the equation. And so it's fascinating, but I also just get to meet so many neat people by kind of being in between the actual, kind of property owners, property managers, and then, as depending on the conversation, the dreaded, online channels that are out there, and sort of saying like, hey, wait a minute, we can all get along. We're all working for the same goal. We're all trying to make money. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's trying to make money. But it's just, I think being part of this industry, no matter what facet or role you're playing, is just, it's fascinating. It's exciting. It's I think everybody in the industry has a passion for whatever they're doing. And that's what I love about this. It doesn't feel like a job. It just feels like a journey for me every day.
I completely agree with that idea that it doesn't feel like a job, it feels like a journey. And it's interesting, I've spoken to a few different people around the industry, and let's call them vacation rental industry geeks for argument's sake. And there is this collective just love for the industry and how it operates and how we can make it work more efficiently and how we can continue to innovate. And it truly is inspiring to work in.
Yeah, it really, really is. So I feel fortunate, and I hate to use the term blessed, but you get blessed along the way to meet really amazing people and people, again, that you would never have the opportunity to meet otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, COVID was a big moment for all of us. Has it changed the company culture at Lexicon? Have you altered the way you do business and the way you do things?
I think like everybody, we kind of just, when it happened, we all just kind of took a collective like gasp and thought, oh my gosh, this is the end. Like, what are we going to do? We had some really a great leader that was with us. That was very dynamic in terms of like just trying anything. Like, nothing's wrong at this point. It's not going to hurt us. Let's communicate. Let's do webinars. Let's get out there. And I found a voice that I didn't know that I had, and she encouraged it. She was like, absolutely, get out there, talk what you know, because people, I think everybody was in a moment of panic and then not understanding what it is that they should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And there wasn't any right or wrong. But I just was out there offering what I saw from my perspective and my experience of like, okay, let's take this in very small, like, there's a term in the US that people say like, you can't eat the whole elephant. So we couldn't eat the whole elephant at once, but we could take small bites of it and try to figure out what to do with it. And because things were changing so rapidly week to week to week, it was just being able to kind of pivot, from Monday to Friday. So we got more agile as a team. We did have to, unfortunately, we had to do some downsizing of the team. It gave me a stronger role within the organization, and kind of that's where I'm at now. I just kind of had come in sort of like, I just want to be a manager. I don't really want to, manage people. I don't really want to be a decision maker. I just want to do my job. And I think that you get put in situations where when it's time for you to rise, it's time for you to rise. And COVID was just that opportunity for me. So again, bad situation. I would never want to repeat 2020 for anybody. And, especially God bless the nurses and doctors and people that really are on the front lines of it. But I think as a society, and then like, again, our company, we got closer, we got more trusting of each other to do things and to have each other's back, even though we don't work in an office together. It was just, there was a definite kind of gelling of the whole organization.
Well, that's really great to hear. And that is the story, isn't it? With lots of different companies, not for everyone. And we have to be obviously really cognizant of the fact that, it has been a really, really tough time. And obviously a global pandemic can never be seen as a good thing. Right. But it's interesting what it can do, because there is a time when collectively everybody gets over the first initial shock and gets kind of back to business and then finds new ways to communicate. And I can completely agree with your view that it was about talking to people, communicating, keeping those conversations going and trying to find those new networks. So do you think your business and you have now fully embraced that technology to allow you to do this forever forward looking?
I think so. I mean, I think again, it's just you have to have trust in yourself and the trust in the people that are kind of in your orbit that things are going to work out for the best. There's always going to be somebody that comes in or something that comes in to disrupt it and make it uneasy. But I think as an industry, definitely for our organization, we're a lot more in sync than we probably were before.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, what do you think is coming next for our industry? What's around the corner? What's the next big trend?
Gosh. Well, I thought M&A was going to slow down. I thought for sure that was going to slow down, but it seems like, and it's funny to me because it feels like all of a sudden vacation rentals is the shiny new penny and everybody wants to pick it up and, take it for a test drive, but we've been around for so long. Like I remember growing up, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, so on the East Coast, and we went to vacation rentals every summer, stayed in the same home in the Outer Banks of North Carolina every summer as long as I can remember. So for me, I always stayed in vacation rentals on vacation, but I was a gymnast and I traveled around the country and we stayed in hotels. So there's a need. To me, that was just normal. So to see all of the excitement or desire to kind of had their hands in the pot with all these investment groups, and it's just fascinating to me. Like, we've been here, like, where have you guys been? But I thought that would kind of slow down a little bit just as we got towards the second half of this year, that it would be like, oh, okay, everybody's back to normal, but it doesn't seem to slow down. So I would say like M&A is going to continue, kind of that consolidation of vacation rental companies, consolidation, or I think say like vertical consolidation within the verticals will continue. But I do think the biggest thing, and the one thing that I am loving to see, and it goes back to our earlier part of the conversation, is the voice that the industry now seems to have as one. Everybody's not fighting regionally for kind of their place in the spotlight. It's like, okay, we as a vacation rental industry are a dynamic group of people based all over the world who have similarities that we can talk about together as one voice and make change and help fight some of the, the odd restrictions that are in place. So again, we don't run into a situation where the governor shuts down vacation rentals but opens up hotels. I think the voice that we have created out of COVID will continue to get stronger and better. And I am certainly not the person to be that voice, but I love watching the leadership within the industry that is taking that, I want to say the pulpit, but they're taking that position on stage to be able to talk about what we do and how good we are. And off of that, it'll bring professionalism to the industry that maybe has been lacking, that probably prevented maybe some of the investment previously because people thought, there's some rogue players out there. But it's just, I think it's all of the pieces kind of coalescing around a message that, we're here and we're not going anywhere.
That's a really interesting point. And interesting how that does gel in with professionalism, doesn't it? So, make sure that your vacation rental business or what your business that serves the vacation rental industry is doing all the right things. And then we can make sure that regulation is favorable and progressive instead of restrictive. And ultimately that will lead to more investment in the industry. I completely agree with you. And I share your fascination with the fact that it still does seem to be the shiny penny. Yet some of us have spent our whole entire careers in here. So, maybe there is more to come next year. Tell me, Outer Banks, Washington, D.C., is that what you're saying you were staying, Washington?
So I grew up in Washington, D.C. area. So right outside my father was a policeman there. So we grew up there, but we vacationed in the Carolinas growing up. My dad was actually from Florida. So that was ultimately how I ended up back in Florida. But yeah, so I vacationed on the East Coast growing up my whole life. And then I moved to Florida, and it was like, I remember I was talking to my husband about this. When I moved to Florida, none of the homes in the area were on stilts. And I thought, that's insane. Everybody puts their houses on stilts when you're on the beach because, there's storms. But no, they weren't on stilts here. And I didn't understand what that was all about. And it's just so funny to me, again, how very different communities are within vacation rentals, and it just speaks to kind of, regulations or what the norm is. And, that wasn't normal. So to me, I was like, those aren't vacation rentals. Those are just normal homes, because normal homes weren't on stilts. It was just vacation rentals were on stilts. So yeah, it's weird.
I love it. I love it. And those holidays at the same place, where were they being found? Because I remember my dad used to find them in magazines, and then we'd go and stay.
Oh,
And you could
print.
call the owner directly, right?
Yeah. Well, so I remember, never forget this, because I've always been very short. And so my dad would always call me, I'm the midget of the three of my sisters. But I think I was a gymnast, so I was just naturally more compact than they were soccer players. And so my dad always called me midget. So for some reason, this realty company always sticks in my mind and makes me giggle, because it was Midget Realty. And that was the company that was I believe they're still there. They may have been bought by somebody, but it's in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. And I remember they had the lighthouse was their logo, and they had rental homes all over the island, and they had been in business. I mean, this was like, well, I don't want to date myself, but I mean, the 70s and 80s. So, I mean, it's been around for a long time. And so, yeah, my mom ordered a magazine, and we thumbed through it and found the one we wanted. And then we went there every year. I think one year my parents took us down there because someone had said it's a great place to go. And we went, I was probably 5 or 6, and stayed in a little a little small, like bungalow type place that it was just like like a studio apartment. My mom and dad and 3 girls. I mean, I don't know how they did that, but we went there when I was like I said, kindergarten, 1st grade, 6 or 7. And then we rented a home from then on. Like, they found the home we wanted to stay in, and it was at the same place,
Same company.
the same week.
There you go. And now this is the challenge, isn't it? It's how these businesses get that repeat guest in the same way year on year. And then I guess it was simpler, because once you hit a good accommodation on a good island, and you knew it was a banker, why risk going elsewhere? Just go back to the same place.
But I think what upended that is technology. And what I find fascinating is that when I was on the hotel side of the business and we worked with colleges, I went to spring break. And so we worked with MTV a couple of years, and they were always like, okay, well, we're going to these 3 markets for spring break. It was Daytona, South Padre, and Panama City Beach. So those were the markets they did. And the kids always went to those 3 markets. Well, then, fast forward a couple of years, all of a sudden there's this new website, hotels.com, expedia.com, and they just opened the world for everybody to be able to access travel from their desktop. And I think that's the technology piece of it, is what has changed people from always going to the same place. Sure, there's some that still always do that, but I think that you go to a place and you're like, I want to experience this, but maybe in the mountains, or this maybe in Europe, or maybe this in a different beach. And it's just the world has become so accessible because of technology, and that's the thing that's so cool about it. But it has removed a lot of those norms, the traditions that vacation rentals were sort of built on.
Yeah, I think that's right. I also am convinced that it's meant that less people actually buy their own vacation rental, because they can just go around the world and try other people's.
Yeah. Let somebody else do do the buying.
That's right. Yeah. Annie, obviously passionate about the industry, work very hard. When you're not working, what are you doing? How are you relaxing?
Well, I have a miniature schnauzer that loves to be walked like 4 times a day. So I walk him a lot. I do yoga periodically. I was doing yoga face-to-face, but that kind of got stopped because of COVID. So I've tried to do it on TV, like video. It's just not the same, but I'm trying to force myself. But my husband and I, we kayak a lot, because just living in Florida, there's waterways, and we live in an area where the wildlife's really pretty cool. Like, we have dolphin that will come swim next to you while you're kayaking, and you can go in freshwater, or you can go out in the Gulf. So we will do that. We get wave runners and go out and go along the coast. And I'm not like super outdoorsy Florida, like to get a suntan, if you can tell by my kind of very Norwegian look. But to me, I like being with my family. I like my parents, and actually my husband's parents, they both live here. We had a very destructive hurricane that came through a few years ago. And it was one of those kind of life-changing moments where you watch your community be pretty leveled in most areas, destroyed, people losing everything. And it humbles you, and you realize you don't need things. You just need people, and you need you need the world to be a good place. And so I just feel like I want to just be happy and exist, and if I can make some change along the way, that's great, but I'm not looking to, conquer the world and go climb Mount Everest, but I want to be happy and enjoy life.
I mean, that's so important. And it does, sometimes it can take a big event, can't it, to make you realize the importance of that. But yeah, I completely agree. Being happy and having the ones you love around you, what better way to spend your time off. Annie, I've loved talking to you. I've got some very frivolous either or questions that you probably heard us do before.
I'm so excited about these.
Here we go. Right. First thing that comes into your head, please. Annie, coffee or tea?
Tea.
I had you as coffee. Okay. Bath, shower?
Bath, but I don't have a bathtub right now, so it's hard.
I get that. You can be an enthusiast for a bath without being a regular partaker.
Yeah, it's a frivolous thing.
Football or basketball?
So for my sisters who played soccer, they would say I should say football. But I like basketball. It's fun to watch.
It's maybe more fun, isn't it? And I'm a mad soccer fan, but basketball is a lot of fun to watch.
It's more fun to go to it than it is actually to watch it on TV, but it's a lot of fun to go to. If you ever get the chance to go to a college basketball game, so much fun.
Annie, you've got to take me when I come to Florida. You've got to take
me. Absolutely.
Beach or mountain?
Mountain.
Green or blue?
Blue.
Odd or even?
Even.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Book or e-reader?
Oh, book. Gotta feel it. I love the smell of the books.
Annie, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. I've loved talking to you, as I always do. Thanks for coming on.